How's it going, guys? I'm here with your Smackdown review. So I'm going to try it now, guys. I am going to try to stick with these reviews. So you might be asking yourself, oh, so you must have really enjoyed Smackdown. Um, well, that's a different story. Anyway, why I've decided to get back into this, we'll get to in a moment. But as far as this show, guys, don't get me wrong, there's several things here. Maybe the show might be slightly better. I will say this: Roman Reigns definitely makes this show 10 times better than what it was, in my opinion. Like, at least there's something on here, like something big that's good that you could really sink your teeth in and really enjoy, instead of there being just like tiny little things. Because at least you could say that this guy is the champion on the show, and we've got a great champion. And people have been telling me that, JD has been singing the praises of Roman Reigns. And hey, I'll be the first one to say that I used to sit here on this channel and bash Reigns from one end of the review to the other. Remember? But that was like 2014, 2015, where Reigns was a pretty cringy character. But now, I would say that, if you're bashing Reigns now, which he's not, I haven't watched JD's content in a while, so I'm just going by what people are telling me here. But I already know how JD rolls, so, he's jumping on the Reigns bandwagon because probably a lot of other people are. So, it's very weird, actually, that the Smarks are, like, into this type of character-driven type of persona that Reigns has acquired. And I actually went back and I watched the whole Reigns scenario. I watched everything from Payback, Hell in the Cell, and there was like one other pay-per-view in there somewhere. Ah, yes, Clash of Champions. I just had to go and check that out. I completely forgot, but all of that stuff was really, really good. And, well, not really so much Payback. I mean, that was actually a pretty solid match with The Fiend and Strowman. But, the two matches he had against Jay at Clash and at Hell in a Cell, those were astounding. Both were really good. I think I might have liked the Hell in a Cell one a bit more. It was long, but it was time used effectively. You could say that it might have, it could have been prone to getting dragged out, but that simply wasn't the case. And there was just a lot of drama, Reigns' facial expressions, Jey Uso doing a phenomenal sell job. When I first saw this match, when I was seeing it on YouTube, and, I saw that they had posted, numerous videos with Jay and Roman building this up. I was like, man, Jey Uso, facing Reigns, in a pay-per-view match. I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I get this, it's a family affair and everything, and that does have a bit of a draw to it. But I was like, wow, Jay is obviously, not in the same league as Roman, when it comes to, status and, who's a main eventer. And that simply wasn't the case. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Jey Uso is 10 times the main eventer of, say, someone like a Kevin Owens or a, whoa, bro, Matt Riddle. Just so much better than Seth Rollins, than any of these guys, any of those people that have gotten their shot and failed at the spotlight. And you could say, okay, well, creative has failed them just the same. And be that as it may, it's not really creative really gave Jey Uso anything. I mean, all he had to do was go out there and sell and do some facial expressions, which those guys can't even get right. You could say maybe they booked it, in such a way that they couldn't really display those things. But when I think about how long Seth Rollins has been in front of a live crowd, now we don't have those live crowds, but Jey Uso, Seth Rollins has had so many opportunities to showcase what he's got, and I don't see any range coming from that guy. But Jey Uso is here in, an empty arena. Okay, yeah, they've got people streaming themselves into the Thunderdome. I get that. But, Jey Uso, not even playing to really anybody, just the TV audience at home, just the people streaming those pay-per-views on the network. He is playing to that home audience, and he's doing so much of a better job. And I think a lot of that might be the case. And I was hearing this from Jim Jefferson over on Facebook, a good friend of mine. And he said a lot of the WWE's problems are getting resolved because of the lack of a crowd. And I kind of disagree with him, I have to say. That might surprise you. Didn't I just seem like I was going to agree? Well, I sort of do. But they still have a lot of problems, and as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of still playing to a non-existent crowd. It's just, you could kind of tell the way how they're just kind of handling themselves out there. They're not taking advantage of that home audience once again. And this is why I have to say there's not really a vast improvement. There's slight improvements, but anyway, let's get into this show. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso are kicking things off. Roman says that he did not need Jay's help. And I guess the thing is here, I was a little bit confused because I was like, didn't he seem happy with him at the end? Because, Reigns and Jay were hugging, but maybe he didn't really see what Jay did because I believe he was on the outside or he might have been in the corner, when he was having his match against McIntyre. But the criticism continued. But, I guess the thing is that he probably didn't see it because of that. So he was probably unaware that Jay helped him cheat to win. Then you've got him telling Jay that, you lost your SmackDown, versus Raw match. And it's basically his fault. And Jay was saying, well, the team wouldn't listen to him. And he said, you need to command respect. And, the way how Roman talks to Jay and everything, and Jay's kind of like in this submissive role, I'm really getting it, and it's good, and it's just Reigns' demeanor. I know that like if this was being done by any other writer, they probably could write in slight nuances that would probably improve this. But as far as the writing team is concerned, the current writing team, this is as good as it's going to get. And I know this is lowering standards, but I just like watching Reigns work. And I've been saying this for years and years. And now seeing him kind of get to this elite level. And since he's taken a break and he's come back with this head of the table character, it's in the tribal king. I just really, really liked what he's doing here. The demeanor, the tone of voice, everything just matches oh so well. And so Jay is in a bad mood, of course, because now he's just been humiliated in front of everyone. A home audience anyway, and a bunch of goofballs streaming their faces into the Thunderdome. And I gotta tell you something, like, I really, really hate to be super mean, but I just have to say this, like, just really stop with the streaming. I know that people are gonna be like, oh, some people have fun doing that and everything, but there are just so many unpleasant faces being streamed into the Thunderdome. I just can't stand it. It's so distracting. You got just these faces. These people with these, oh my God. Like, and you've got like some girls even that are streaming their faces. Like, can you fix yourself up a little bit? Like, I mean, there are like girls who wouldn't even, be caught dead without makeup, and these girls are just streaming their faces, and they're like, it's just rather unsettling, to say the least. And wow, I mean, I get it. Like, WWE is desperate for an audience, so this is the best that they can do at the current moment. But it's just, oh God. To say that it's distracting is putting it oh so mildly. I mean, it's just fucking these people just, their faces. I mean, there are some disturbing characters on a normal basis, when there is a full live crowd. But just seeing this, like, with the bad lighting and everything, I mean, I've got a light, you could even see, like, the quality on my face is 10 times better, but it would look 10 times worse if I didn't have this bright light behind the camera to aid it, and I've even tried different angles. Lighting can really make you look astoundingly hideous. It really is just that simple. Lack of lighting, lighting in certain angles is just, it's sort of like that episode of Seinfeld when Jerry's dating that girl, and if she's in a certain light, she looks hideous, and in other lighting settings, she looks gorgeous. And that's kind of how it is when those people stream their faces into the Thunderdome. So anyway, as Jay is making his way out, Otis is coming in, and I seriously have always hated this, and I've talked about this on a number of occasions, where you have these wrestlers just, like, meeting each other. Like, it just shows that there's, like, no scheduling, and I get, like, it's done on purpose, but it really does. Like, one guy is leaving and one guy is coming in. It's kind of just a real cheap way from getting point A to point B. So Jay starts attacking Otis with a steel chair, just starts beating on him. And, I don't know who Otis's opponent was supposed to be, but I guess we'll never know. And that's just one of the oddest things. Like, it just ends right there. Like, we have these mystery matches. They've done this before, but I'm always like, well, who was his opponent? Anyway, so, Jay is getting his vicious side. This seems like it's going somewhere, but we're going to talk about how, well, it kind of really didn't go anywhere. And it went in a really unfavorable way later in the show. Ziggler and Robert Roode defeat the Street Profits. And, I talked about how during the summer I actually did watch a show that I did not review, and that was Extreme Rules. And Dolph Ziggler had a match against Drew McIntyre for the championship. And, Drew, and Ziggler, they had an okay match from what I remember. It was very forgettable. Anyway, I had said that Natalya is like the wrestler that comes around every couple of months and they start pushing her out of nowhere. Even though no one really cares, there's not really a lot of fanfare to it. She just literally pops out of nowhere. Sometimes she won't even be on a show for a month, and it has nothing to do with her not being injured. It might be the Total Diva stuff, whatever the case may be. But she, like, pops out of nowhere, and now she's doing this greatest of all time gimmick. But someone had said in the comments, in my Survivor Series review, I forget who it was, so I apologize for that, but they said that Dolph Ziggler is the male version of Natalya. And that's a very good analogy, I would say. That's a very good example, because it is the same thing. Dolph Ziggler seemed like he was heading in the right direction after a massive crowd reaction coming in 2013 to cash in the briefcase on Alberto Del Rio. And a lot has happened with that man that we haven't even talked about on this channel. And I don't think I could even really talk about it on YouTube anyway, because the way how things are now on here. So, they did everything in their power to undermine Dolph Ziggler from that point on. But they'll always throw him a bone here and there. Just like Natalya gets a women's title match here and there, Dolph Ziggler gets a world title match here and there. But Robert Roode returns, and you would think that maybe this would be the opportunity to finally give a guy that looks like Bobby Roode. Like, look what they've done with Bobby Roode. Remember how this guy had, like, a WrestleMania match? and Bobby Roode looked like he was ready to, finally start resuming kind of the status he had when he was in Impact Wrestling. This guy who looks like a star, that's in tremendous shape, who's a good talker. They don't even let the guy talk. They have not let this guy near any main event for a very long time. I don't think he even got a single main event since he's been on the main roster. And you've got all these people saying, "Oh, send these people back to NXT." Like, people actually want these wrestlers to go to a show with lower ratings. And I don't know what these people are thinking, what they're on. Like, do you really think that these wrestlers are going to want to go back to a show where they're probably going to get paid less money? They're going to get even less exposure? I don't think so, guys. I don't know why people suggest these things. I think it's for very selfish reasons. They think that, oh, well, they're going to book them better. Like, seriously, who cares? Just so you could get like another 40-minute like takeover match with one of these guys. Get out of here. Like, honestly, like, just have a little bit more respect for these people and their bottom line. Like, they're not going to just go back to NXT because you tell them they're going to have better matches. I think that's the last thing on their mind, unless your name is Johnny Gongonorino, and that's all you care about is having 5-star matches. I don't think that that's really a concern to someone like Robert Roode. And I haven't really heard anyone talk about Robert Roode recently, but it was said that he was better off in NXT, and I see why people are saying that. But really, when you look at it from a grand scope, from a scope of reality, you'll clearly see that would be probably the dumbest possible move that he could make. So they get the win over on the Street Profits, and I'm just saying to myself, like, you got two guys here that could be world champions. And as far as I'm concerned with Ziggler, like, they've beaten this guy down so much that, like, putting him in world title matches just kind of seems hilarious. That's why when I watched Drew McIntyre and Ziggler, I was just saying, like, are we seriously doing this as a world title match in 2020? When Ziggler was already just kind of completely destroyed as far as a main eventer is concerned back in 2013, over 7 years ago, and we're going to go back to the Ziggler world title stuff again. I mean, 7 years is a pretty long time in wrestling. And to go back to that is just a complete sham. So that's why I didn't even really want to talk about that. When I saw that type of stuff on the show, it just kind of re-cemented, like, whoa, I don't want to touch this show with a 10-foot pole. I don't want to review it. I don't want to talk about it. But now the mood has struck me to start talking about this stuff again for some reason. Mostly for you. But, having him in a tag team again, it just feels so underwhelming. Like, especially with, Roode being injured, and all the wind was taken out of their sails, and here we go again. This fight, well, they did beat the Street Profits, who I don't like. I just don't see anything in those guys. But anyway, let's move on. Oh, and how did it end? I made a note here so I wouldn't forget this. How did the match end? With a roll-up. Keep that in mind for the rest of the show. But how did the majority of the matches end on Raw? With roll-ups. This has got to be some type of a rib. This has to be some type of a joke, because when we last stopped reviewing shows here on this channel, what did I complain about a lot? Roll-ups, hitting 1,000 moves. Well, at least I don't see 1,000 moves happening. But now just every match is ending in a roll-up for some reason. Backstage, we've got Murphy, Rey Mysterio, and Corbin. Okay, and, I know about the story here, guys. That Murphy is now dating Aaliyah, Rey Mysterio's daughter. Okay, that's all fine and well. But, like, just Murphy, he's not with Seth Rollins anymore. He found out that Seth Rollins was using him. Rollins is going to be away for a long time. And, he's going to be taking care of cringy Lynch and everything. And, God bless them and everything with the baby and all that, of course. But, any time away from Seth Rollins is like a vacation for me. So, it's a good thing that, Rollins is not injured. He's just taking some time. So, as far as I'm concerned, I have no problem saying that, well, it's a blessing in disguise, right? So, we don't have to have Rollins on here, which, is good by me. But, like, seeing just Murphy with Rey Mysterio, like, this is just some type of malformed, like, Murphy's just silent. He's got nothing to say. Corbin is coming there and insulting them. He insults Dominic. And I'm just like, Murphy just standing there super silent and just... It just looks weird to me. Like, why is he there? Like, I get, like, why he is there, but why is he there? He just looks so out of place with this family. And I get it, let's try to get Murphy in. I mean, Murphy's a talented guy and everything, but I'm just looking at Murphy, and I'm like, with Rey Mysterio, it does not look good. He's just out of place here. And out of place is not good. Now, sometimes there's good oddball pairings, the Rock and Sock connection, but are we really going to go there? No, we're not, so let's move on. Sami Zayn is in the ring doing a whole SJW routine. I gotta say, I like Zayn. Zayn has come a long way from his days in NXT, where he was just a great wrestler. Finally, they realized that there's no money to be made, that there's no drawing power in Sami Zayn being a great wrestler. And Zayn's whole wild man routine, and he's talking about, just Thanksgiving from an SJW perspective, just being about killing the Indians and like nothing more and just stuffing fat faces. I like that we could kind of make him the heel and everything, so that's very refreshing. Because in any other form of media, that this guy would be considered to be the babyface saying stuff like that, as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, with that aside, we've got Zayn and Daniel Bryan, and I just think it's hilarious that everyone compares me to Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan has like my old haircut, which I just find really amusing. But Daniel Bryan, man, like this guy being in the position that he's in now, I just can't believe that we went from like the Drew Gulak stuff, and that came all the way from Bryan main eventing WrestleMania, then retiring. This guy's career was finished. It was kaput. It was gone. We thought we were never going to see Bryan in a ring ever again. All the stuff with the doctors, that the WWE doctor would not approve Bryan for an in-ring return after all the GM stuff and the big return at WrestleMania. And then, Bryan wins the title from AJ and all this stuff happens. Bryan finds himself in a world title match again at Mania. And here we are, present day. And what the fuck is going on with Daniel Bryan? Just honestly, like this guy came back from a career-ending injury. And I get like he's been back for a while now, like almost 3 years. Okay, point taken. But he came back for this. He came back for this, to do this. This is what he came back for, so he could have an intercontinental championship feud with Sami Zayn. And it doesn't even look like they're going to stick around for this, because the match ends with a count out. We don't see what happens. They start fighting, towards the back, and then Zayn runs out. He makes it back into the ring before the referee gets to 10. And then we find out that Jey Uso was beating on Daniel Bryan in the back. I'm just saying, like, this is what Bryan came back for. The man beat Batista and Randy Orton in a single match, beat Triple H in the same night, beat John Cena the year before that. And I mean, this is where we're at with Daniel Bryan. I mean, holy shit. Holy fuck. This company could really do a number on anyone. It doesn't matter who it is, what you've done, what pay-per-views you've main evented. They will make sure that, and everyone says McMahon, but it's the writing team. It's the people booking this show. You've got so many hands in the cookie jar at once that we can't get any consistency at all. I mean, Bryan should still maybe not be in the main event. I mean, we can't have everyone in the main event with so many people that are on the roster at the moment. But, I mean, when you look at everyone else, yeah, I think we probably should have Bryan there, especially what we're going to be talking about at the end of the show. Where we could probably have anyone else be in the position, but I have to hold off. As you can see, I'm already bursting at the seams. I have to talk about what happens at the end of the show because it just really just kind of gets me hot under the collar. Anyway, what happened next? So backstage, Kevin Owens, fat boy Kevin Owens, the beach dweller. I still cannot believe that this man refuses to get in shape. I mean, remember this guy was gone for so many months. Kevin Owens was supposed to be the family man. He was supposed to be the next Stone Cold. Now he's just the next nobody. I mean, really, what are they doing with Kevin Owens? They've had so many start-agains with Kevin Owens. It's almost at the point where who the hell should give a shit anymore? Honestly, does anyone still give a shit about Kevin Owens and anything that this guy has to offer? Okay, I've been saying it for years. He's decent on the mic, but dear Lord, I look at this guy and he's supposed to be intimidating. Who's intimidated by this fat boy? Honestly, I mean, this guy he looks like a random guy at the bar that you would see. And not even someone particularly that you would really want to drink with. I'm just saying the guy is just in a position right now where he's just there. And for some reason, someone on the writing team, someone within WWE likes Kevin Owens, and they insist that he always come back for main event matches, and that's where he's on. So, Kevin Owens pulls Jey Uso off of Daniel Bryan in the back. He gets in Roman's face, and Roman then tells Jay that he doesn't fear him, so he should go after him and teach him a lesson. So, and we're gonna get to that a little bit later in the show. Then we've got Bianca Belair, and we were just talking about Natalya. And Belair goes over on Natalya. And how does this happen? Well, we've got Bayley still at ringside. And, talk about people that have shown no signs of improvement. I don't know why. Still, at this point, we are insisting on having Bayley on the mic. Bayley at the commentary table, talking throughout a match. Now, granted, it's a short match, but why is she even granted that much time at all? Why is she there? Why is she talking? I don't get it. She's not even the champion, and here she is just yammering away for no good reason, and it gives me a headache. I cannot stand the sound of Bayley's voice. She's not likable. I can't even, love to hate her or anything like that as a heel, because it's just bad. It's just bad acting, and she's just not good. And she hasn't been good. And this is why everyone was clamoring, oh, make her a heel, make her a heel. Everyone was so happy when she was a heel, and they all still say that she's a masterful heel. She's not masterful at anything. She's not good. I've said this time and time again, she's a decent wrestler. That's about it. But as a character, she's fucking awful. There's nothing to like here. I'm sorry. There's nothing to like here with Bayley. Honestly, There's not one thing that I could point out on her character that's appealing. I mean, okay, maybe the one thing I will say is the Karen haircut that kind of plays into who she is, but they need to build off of a haircut. They can't just simply say, like, okay, go out there and just be super annoying with, that's the thing. She's just annoying. She's not even, villainous or anything. There's no appeal. And there's a distraction, and Belair gets the win on Natalya with, of course, a roll-up. Why would we have it any other way, right? Why not just have another roll-up in there? I mean, countouts, roll-ups, it's all good, right? Right, guys? I mean, how many times are you going to end your matches with a fucking roll-up? I mean, isn't this monotonous? I mean, watching this and just every single match is booked this way to end in a roll-up? Like, are the agents really sitting there saying, oh, guys, what we really need in the next match is a roll-up finish? Holy shit. Murphy and Corbin, wow, Murphy's tights are just hideous. And I still cannot believe that we've got Corbin in this position where Corbin, now this is a guy who's got mic skills. He understands what it is to be a heel, but he has not progressed at all. I still remember talking about his match against Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble and where we've progressed from this point out. What progress have we really made? There's been nothing here at all for Corbin to do all year. They've given him nothing. He's still the king, and this is really going nowhere. They're not even doing anything. There's no special nuances with him being the king. He's just the king. And they're not doing anything with the character. They're not exploring any avenues of his personality. It's just him going around and being mean to people and saying things to people backstage, which eventually leads to a match, which a lot of times leads to him losing. So not only is he not going anywhere as character, but they frequently bury him. And, I get years ago when he lost the Money in the Bank, I get that was punishment for things that he was saying on social media. But, aren't we past that already? Or are we still going to harp on that from years ago? Because I've got a feeling that there's still something lingering in the air where they're not willing to commit to Corbin and they're refusing to do so. And there needs to be a reason or a similar reason, like they have something against him. They dress this guy up like a king. Now, granted, not like a Booker T style king. At least it's a bit more of a darker type of king, a Game of Thrones type of look. But they're really doing nothing with it. I mean, honestly, they're not even going anywhere with the Corbin stuff. With him being the king, they kind of gave up on that already with carrying him out on the throne. So now you kind of shed that away. And you're just kind of left with just, Baron Corbin not really doing much. And, so Murphy gets a knee on Corbin, which leads to a victory. And I have to say, I get that there was another distraction there that led to that victory. But putting Murphy over a guy like Corbin, I understand that the Smarks love Murphy for some fucking reason. I don't get why. I get it. Murphy does have a bit of a look to him, but there's not really much there. They don't even let the guy talk. I don't even know if he knows how to talk. I don't even know if the guy can talk. Well, he does. But anyway, I mean, they're just not even doing anything with Murphy. They're just pairing him with Aaliyah. And that's it. He's with Aaliyah. He's with Rey Mysterio. That's it. There's nothing more to it than that. Now that they put those characters together, they're not going to bother exploring anything about Murphy, who he is, or anything like that. They got Murphy from point A to point B, And now they got him into the babyface role. And, that's the other thing. Like, Murphy as a babyface. This guy just doesn't look like a babyface to me. If he's going to be anything, he has to be a heel, basically. I mean, just the way he's standing there with Rey Mysterio, and I get like he doesn't like Corbin because of what Corbin is saying to Mysterio, but he's just kind of back there in that kind of menacing look. He just screams heel to me. I just don't see him as a babyface. Then we have Sami Zayn shows up for an interview, and Big E is talking to Apollo Crews. And then Big E and Zayn have words. Zayn exaggerates, saying that he beat Daniel Bryan in 10 seconds because of the count-out victory. And Big E here really showed that, without the New Day with him, he could be funny in a different way. And I liked how he was kind of squeezing his hand and counting the 10. I just found that humorous. And this kind of goes what I've been saying for years, that Big E doesn't need Xavier Woods bringing him down with his goofballishness, with that nerdy bullshit that they bring to the table. Big E should just be able to be have him be a babyface. I said a heel, but you can have him be a babyface. This like jokey type of thing. You could have him be a sort of like Cena, but don't write it as like, juvenile as they were writing for John Cena with like Star Wars promos and all that shit. Don't do that. But, like this type of humor, this is fine because, the only thing is what was bad is, having, this kind of reminded me of when AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose were standing face to face. Having, especially someone like Big E with the body on this guy. I mean, wow. Big E is like maybe a little shorter than Sami Zayn. And this is a big mistake. I think you should never have this guy go face to face. This is kind of like my mentality with Rhino. Like, Rhino just comes off as a tough guy, but they should never have him go face to face or toe to toe with anybody, because they should just really hide the fact that the guy is, on the shorter side for a wrestler. So I did not like that they had these guys shot this way. They should have tried to figure something out with maybe have Big E stand on something or not have them stand so close to one another. I did like the joke, but I don't know if that really bothered me, just seeing how the guy like Sami Zayn is actually a little taller than Big E. Because Big E comes off as, this is an intimidating looking guy. I mean, this is a power lifter. He's huge, this way, but like this way, not so much. But it was an entertaining segment in the back. Then Sami Zayn yells to, what was her name? Kayla Braxton. I forget these interviewers backstage. He says to leave him alone. Then we've got another little backstage skit, and it's Carmella. And, oh man, I had to go back and say, like, what is missing from Carmella after watching this promo? So just to recap, so Carmella says, she gets anyone to do what she wants. She snaps her fingers, and a glass of champagne appears from off screen, and it ends up being Sasha Banks. Sasha puts Carmella in the bank statement, and then we got Adam Pearce. Like, Adam Pearce is there for both shows. This is what I'm saying, guys. Like, are we honestly still doing this brand split where, like, they're still kind of really haphazardly doing this? Anyway, so we've got Carmella here doing his promo. And this one came off a lot more scripted, a lot more, like, focused, but a little too focused. It was a little too scripted. And so I had to go back. I was like, okay, we need to bring it back. Let me bring it back to 2017, because that's when Carmella was cutting some great promos with Ellsworth. Remember the whole thing with the Money in the Bank, and everyone's criticizing her, and the Smarks almost had an uprising. So I started watching one of her old promos, and I was like, that's it. She was just way more, like, they gave her more liberties on the mic. They certainly did. Things sounded a bit more, unique and a lot more organic. And they didn't sound so put together like this. Like, this just felt so, like, hygienic and, clean and just, just completely devoid of anything that made Carmella great when they made her, like, the women's champion. So, Carmella needs to get back to that. I'm saying because she was good. She was really becoming one of my favorite women's wrestlers. She was just a good character. And she had this good thing going on. Mella is money. And they were very consistent with this for weeks and weeks. It was kind of like what they were getting away with from the Alexa Bliss character. Everything that made her so great. Of course, now they're kind of refining her character by being with the Fiend. So they kind of remedied that to a certain extent. But they've really gotten away from a lot of these wrestlers. Like, once they get these great personalities, they start drifting away from them. And I've said this for years on this channel, and probably most prominently, I talked about Wade Barrett. And I talked about how that guy had found a tremendous character that was so good. And then they came up with this stupid reason where I don't know if it was rumored or it was the real thing, but because he was supposed to be a heel and people were cheering Barrett every time he would deliver the bad news, they got away from that character. And, I mean, they just then, from that point, destroyed Wade Barrett. There was no way they could dig himself out of that hole, because once you have a great character, the chances of finding another great character is not going to happen. Well, they did it for Bray Wyatt, but Bray Wyatt kind of came up with that character on his own. But they need to get Carmella back there, because they're never going to capture that same Carmella magic if they keep going in this direction. Also, what the fuck was going on with Sasha's face here? I don't know what it was, but when she got up after applying the bank statement, she got up and her face looked so weird. Her, like, eyes were, like, sloped downward. I'm going to throw a picture up here as a visual aid, because I don't think people really understand what I mean. She wasn't wearing the amount of makeup she usually does. And I know she had her, like, hair like closer to her eyes, like, kind of take attention away from it, kind of hide it. But she looked absolutely terrible. Did anyone notice that? So anyway, we have our final match of the night, and it's Kevin Owens and Jay Uso. So Jay Uso grabs a chair, he starts beating down on Owens, and I'm like, okay, this is good. So he's beating up on Fat Boy, and he's going to make Reigns proud of him. And then Reigns will probably come out and they'll just destroy Owens. Nope, what happens here? Somehow Owens completely gets up after getting mashed with the chair, turns the table, throws him over the announce desk, that old spot, then starts beating Jay down with the chair, and then he starts yelling into the camera, and he sits down on the side of the announce table like he's at the head of the table, and Roman Reigns watches on from backstage at the monitor, and the show ends. Really? Like, okay. Guys, I understand this is kind of part of the storyline where Jay keeps disappointing Reigns and everything. But, Jay Uso did hang in there with Roman Reigns in the Hell in the Cell, the match at Clash of Champions. It made Jay look tough. When you have a guy like Kevin Owens, who's not really doing a whole lot, who's pretty much just a joke, the whole thing with him being heralded as the next Stone Cold just makes him look foolish. And it wasn't just me. A lot of other people just kind of find it really hilarious that they put all that stock in Owens, and it's just basically one false start after another with this guy. Why they would choose to shoehorn this guy into this storyline, it just fucking shows that they have no sense whatsoever. Give up on Kevin Owens. For the love of God, give up on this fat bastard already. The guy needs to get sent, honestly. If he can't get in shape, send him to a fat farm, send him to a boot camp, do what you got to do, because this guy looks hideous on TV already. I am sick to death of seeing him in his shorts, the sleeveless shirt, where the guy doesn't have any details on his arms at all. What do? They got tattoos to cover up the fact that the guy has no definition on his arms whatsoever. There's only so many different things that you could do with him. You know, you tried to turn him into like a fighting machine so people wouldn't notice that he's got the beer gut and everything like that. And now this guy is beating up on Jay Uso. Jay Uso, who gave us the performance of a lifetime. 2 pay-per-views in a row, mind you. And this is how he's rewarded. You know, they could have done this in a different way, where maybe Jey Uso could be all excited. He could have beat the shit out of Kevin Owens. They could have had him finish beating the shit out of Daniel Bryan. You know, I always notice this. Whenever they've got something good going on the show, you know, if they start the show off strong, it always has to end on a bummer. Like, you can't just have a consistent guy just going on a rampage to a whole show. There always has to be the comeuppance. Whatever happened when the comeuppance would come at the pay-per-view, or it wouldn't even come till years later. Like, I just have to say, I hate to go back to the storyline once more. But can we talk about, like, Austin versus McMahon? How Stone Cold would never truly get his comeuppance against The Rock until WrestleMania? Can we talk about, you know, Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold, where retribution for Stone Cold would not come? Or Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle going into WrestleMania 19, where he would not one-up Kurt Angle until WrestleMania? Like, can we save anything for later on? Can we build anything? Do they have to ruin everything on the same show? And I don't know if it's that they want to make sure. How is it that they do this probably to be eventful, but they end up making things feel even more eventful? Because, like, really nothing happened because no one grew on this show. Jey Uso kind of just looked worse on this show. Kind of made him look like more of a failure. What I would have really done here, and who am I to say this? But honestly, tell me that this would have not been a better idea. Have Uso beat up these guys and it not be good enough for Reigns at the end. Be like, okay, well, you did this, but you still lost in Survivor Series. You know, but instead you sacrifice Jey Uso. And now we're going to have to sit through a world title match with Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens, what, at TLC? Is this what they're going to give us? This is really the best that they could do, following like these masterpieces at the last previous pay-per-views? Like how good they were, how effectively these people use these individuals use their facial expressions and their body language, and the effective use of the camera and everything, and the way they were talking to each other, having this dialogue during the matches. It was just astounding. It was well crafted. It was art. It really was. We haven't seen that in wrestling in a very long time. So to see Kevin Owens, this fat oaf, just completely get shoehorned in here, was probably one of the most unappealing things I've seen in a long time. And it's like, I just decided to start reviewing this stuff again. Like, I couldn't have decided to come back like a month ago and just be happy, and that would have been great. I could have like watched those pay-per-views and been like, I would have had like, oh wow, I could talk about 40 minutes of great stuff, like, you know, at Hell in a Cell and everything. And I didn't watch the Orton McIntyre one. I'm sure it was at least decent, but you know, I could have at least talked about that. Instead, I have to talk about this. Why? I didn't want to have to come to this. But this is what happened, so I have to talk about it. Oh my god. Anyway, guys, hope you all enjoyed the review. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. Oh, I've got some really astounding stuff planned here on this channel, so I would really advise you to stand by. I just had like a really good idea today, and you're probably not gonna see it happen on this channel for at least like another week or so. But like I'm excited the day when I finally post it. Probably be like in 2-3 weeks maybe. Guys will probably say like, "What the fuck are you even talking about?" Like, yeah, no, I've got something planned. I'm not just talking out of my ass here. I've got something planned here. It's gonna change the world, just like Dixie Carter would say in Impact. No, it's not. But I'm excited to do it. The thing that I'm going to do. So. Anyway, guys, I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support. It's always much appreciated. And to everyone who takes the time out of their day to watch my channel and my videos. Check out some of my other wrestling reviews on here. Just got back to doing it. Check out my other video game retrospectives and reviews, my Mandalorian reviews. All great content that comes from the heart. And anyway, guys, thanks again. I'll see you next time.